speaking on that, people do have different needs, because I know that I didn't really need a lot of people that looked like me as much as just people who are open-minded. Like, I'd never considered like walking into a room and like, how many black folks am I going to see here, or how many men am I going to see here, or like anything like that. I just kind of walked into a room like, all right, let me hear what they're saying, and there are some groups that, it's just like you said, individual. Each group is different. Like, there are some groups where I'm just like, who let these people to like speak. And then there are some groups where I'm just like, every group should be like this,
I feel like the one thing that I didn't know I needed, but have gravitated toward, is meetings that are solutions oriented, right? That's a term that we throw out all the time. People who know what they're talking about with recovery, working the 12 steps of AA, or just, focus on their growth and wellness, versus those meetings where people are putting out war stories. I feel like those were the ones where it was harder for me to identify with. So if I'm in a room, it doesn't matter necessarily what the people look like, whether I look like them or not, as long as they're talking about the stuff that's actually going to help me grow, I can stay in those spaces.
Yeah. And that's just not in one particular fellowship, because, for people that don't know, there are several different fellowships, and a lot of times, I've been to all of them, and like, I haven't done everything, but like, sometimes like a meeting is a meeting to me, right? A recovery group is a recovery group to me. As long as it's, like you said, about the solution and staying sober and staying clean. Like, at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. Like, no matter how you do it, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think that gets lost sometimes. I have friends that are very like anti AA, for example.
Same.
Yeah.
I was very anti AA. I was that person.
Yeah, AA was probably the first thing that I did, but I've also done what morphed into Recovery Dharma now, but it was called Refuge Recovery when like we first came out. I've been to NA meetings, I've been to CMA meetings, I've been to HA meetings. Those were not things that I was into. Actually, and it's funny because I actually went to a CMA meeting to try to like get talked out of going into rehab one time, and they actually talked me into it, and they were like, "Yeah, nah, it seems like you need to go." And so at that point, that was the third one that I went to, and actually turned out to be the most beneficial, right? And when people do like rehab, when I was doing rehab searches, right, I knew, the things that you see in the movies a lot. There's, okay, so they're going to have yoga, and they're going to have like a fitness center, and they're going to have all of these things in these nice grounds, right? I went to a rehab that had none of that. And I was so grateful to be there, because I was like, okay, this is literally like 2 rooms. Well, a few rooms, and none of the bells and whistles. And it's just like, focus on your recovery, like focus on what you're here for.
Yeah.
And then I was introduced to something else there, called DBT, which I'm a big proponent of therapy and medication. Disclaimer, I'm not, whatever you do, that's fine. I'm not a medical marijuana guy, but like, I'm take psych meds that are prescribed to me by a doctor, not, a quote unquote doctor who just doesn't care because they're getting your money.
Right. Yes.
But I was introduced to a therapy called DBT, and I really credit that with saving my life and like changing a lot of the perspective that I had on life, and not even that, just how to like deal with the emotions and everything, and that like getting dysregulated, because at the end of the day, this is what I kind of learned, is like, that's why I used anyway, right? You know, we mentioned like the 12 steps. The first one is like talking about being powerless and unmanageable, right? And it's like, yeah, of course. Once I like, why stop once I start? But and also it's like, I gotta analyze why I wanted to start in the first place. You know,